And all you're gonna do is just soak it in there. Whole bunch of squeezes. Just really get all that crud to come out. All right, and we can already see it's done quite a bit of damage on all that oil and grease there. So basically just want to squeeze out the excess. And you're just going to take your filter. This is just clear water. It's kind of warm. I like it a little better that way. And voila, just like so. Now, normally you want to wait for this to dry. So we've got a fan over there just to speed up our process. We'll park it on top of the fan, let it dry out. Then after it's dry, basically you're going to take your filter oil. I like this stuff because it actually sprays on versus actually having to dump it on and really knead it in there. But basically the process is the same. I usually do one light coat on this, massage all that in. It's kind of weird because with it being an aerosol style, it kind of freezes your filter foam a little bit, so you have to kind of really work it in there. After you've got that first coat in, put one more light coat on, massage that in, and then that's pretty much good to go there. So you can actually take your brake pads out and really get in there with just a simple toothbrush with hot water and simple green, get all that cleaned out, and that way that brake's gonna function for you properly. It's not pulling in crud, not beating up your brake caliper seals. You can also very carefully, this is where your piston for your brake caliper is. So if we actually pressed on the brake pedal, that piston comes out, presses on this brake pad and pushes a little more to this direction. If you pull your brake pads out, then you can very carefully press on your brake pedal or your lever, and you can push that piston out a little bit. Don't go crazy, because if you'll blow your piston out, then you've got to work it all back in there and re-bleed your brakes. But you can kind of sneak that out a little bit, and then you can get a little more around that surface area of your piston. A little WD-40 just to kind of lubricate the piston ring itself on that seal, and then you can get it all assembled out. Make sure that when you are putting it back together that you cleared out any of that WD-40 in there. That way it doesn't contaminate your brake pad or your rotor. Okay. All right, gang. So got some really simple stuff here. Basic good waterproof grease. A little flat tip screwdriver. I like this one, it's kind of a pry bar-y style. And this is actually your fork seal cleaning tool. What you're gonna do, make sure your fork tube is clean, so wipe it down with a rag, make sure there's no issues with there. Hook right up into the dust seal, and we're just gonna catch that first layer right up on that dust seal and just give it a twist. And as we twist that, and get it out of the way. A lot of times it gets collected right here. These are actually in really good shape. This is the first time I've looked at this bike, so we're gonna maybe come across some surprises on it. So we'll get this dust seal worked down very carefully. Now once that's out of the way, your oil seal is right up inside the fork there. So then we're gonna take our fork cleaning tool again. And you don't wanna just jam it up in there. You do wanna rotate it as you're putting that tool up inside that fork seal. Okay, we're getting a little fluid out, now we've got a little pressure to it. Totally fine. So now we've got that cleaned out, just like so. This is a real simple way on just maintaining your forks kind of pre-season or mid-season. Now, if you haven't serviced your forks for quite some time, honestly, about every couple years, you want to put new fluid into your system, so that way that fork is working properly and all the valving is working properly for you. So this one actually doesn't have like a visual window for the coolant level. It's actually just below the fill cap. So you always want to take that fill cap off, make sure that it's in good shape. Good idea is to make sure you don't have any corrosion built up around the rubber edges too. If you do, just take a rag and clean it out. Sometimes some WD works out really good too. WD is actually a light solvent, so you can kind of use that, and plus it will lubricate the system as well. So once that's clean, I usually take a rag inside here, make sure there's no debris inside there just from corrosion, that type of thing. And then typically your level is just gonna be below that neck right there. If you see it a little low, you definitely want to add the proper coolant. This particular bike takes the Husqvarna 3.0 coolant. Right? One of our challenges is when clients change out their coolant to different brands, Engine Ice, Evans, that type of thing. So we have to kind of match the colors with it. So if you are changing to a different coolant, make sure you stick with that. And distilled water is going to be the best to add to that process as well. Okay. They do have a small little mark. It's kind of hard to see on this one. It's actually right there, and it just says SAG on it. There's a little dash mark right there. If you don't have anything like that, you can actually just take a piece of duct tape or electrical tape. If you want it more permanent, I've actually just run a razor blade and cut it, and then smeared some magic marker in there just so it keeps that dark spot there, so you always use it as a reference point. So if you're going to use just a tape measure, basically what you're going to do is you're going to go off of your sag mark. You're going to measure right to center your axle for your overall length with the bike off the ground, okay? Then after you get that overall length, now unfortunately I don't have a crew with me to help me out today. I was hoping to have a couple folks, but they had some plans. So after you've got that first initial measurement, you're going to get the bike on the ground, have your pilot get on the bike with all their gear. If they're doing enduro riding with a backpack, have them wear their backpack. That's going to give you the closest measurement for it. With the bike on the ground, they're going to be standing on the foot pegs, balls of their feet, with a little bit of head over their number plate. While they're in that position, someone's going to be balancing from front, and then third person's going to take another measurement. From the overall extended measurement to with the pilot on the bike and the bike sitting on the ground, you want to see an overall 30% of sag. So whatever your calculation turns out to be, you just want to minus that 30%, and that's going to give you your overall sag measurement.